What if the way Rolex handles its watches would raise serious questions in almost any other industry? Not because of poor quality, but because of control, tight control. The kind that leaves buyers frustrated, dealers silent, and billions of dollars hanging in the balance. Rolex produces an estimated 1 million watches every year, yet demand is several times higher. Instead of letting the market balance itself, access is restricted, availability is unclear, and popular models feel permanently out of reach. Some watches never appear in stores at all, while resale prices soared up to 300% above retail, creating a shadow market Rolex claims to dislike, but benefits from indirectly. Customers line up, wait years, and still walk away empty-handed. Dealers follow rules they can't openly explain. Meanwhile, Rolex's annual revenue sits above $10 billion, and the brand remains privately owned, answerable to no shareholders, and immune to public pressure. Today, we're breaking down why so many buyers believe what Rolex does behind the scenes should be illegal, and why regulators have never stepped in. Once you know the truth, everything changes. So let's get into it. Artificial scarcity and market manipulation. Many people who love watches talk about Rolex as one of the most famous luxury brands in the world. They also talk about how hard it can be to buy a Rolex watch in a normal store. Some collectors and buyers feel that the way Rolex controls its watches is unfair or even extreme. The idea that Rolex makes watches scarce on purpose is a big part of these feelings. Rolex watches are very desirable. People all over the world want them. The company makes famous models like the Submariner, Daytona, and GMT Master II. These designs are admired for their quality, history, and style. But the number of watches that people can actually buy at retail stores is very small compared to the number of people who want them. This creates long wait times at authorized dealers and huge prices on the resale market. One reason for this scarcity is that Rolex produces a limited number of watches each year. The company makes roughly 1 to 1.2 million watches annually. At first glance, that sounds like a large number, but global demand for certain models far exceeds that supply. When demand outweighs supply, prices go up and waiting lists form. Rolex itself says that scarcity is not a strategy. The company claims it does not intentionally produce too few watches just to create hype. Rolex insists that it focuses on quality and craftsmanship, not on making fewer watches than people want. The company says its watches are assembled by hand and made with very strict quality controls, and this can naturally limit how many can be produced without lowering standards. Even though Rolex says scarcity is not a deliberate plan, many industry experts and watch collectors disagree. They think the way Rolex manages supply and distribution is more than just about quality control. These critics say Rolex has created a system where demand far outpaces supply to drive desire, status, and high prices. Many people believe this is artificial scarcity, meaning it is created on purpose to control the market. Rolex does not sell watches online through its own store, like many other brands do. Instead, it only sells through a very limited network of authorized dealers. These dealers get a small number of watches each year. They decide which customers will receive the watches they get. Often, only loyal or long-standing clients are selected. This means that even if many people want a watch, only a small number of customers will be chosen by the dealer to buy one at retail price. Authorized dealers do not usually display popular Rolex models openly on shelves. Many customers who visit a store see watches on display that are only for viewing, not for sale. This makes the experience feel exclusive, but it also hides the real low supply of actual watches for sale. Some people believe this practice deliberately keeps the idea of scarcity alive and makes people want the watches even more. Another part of the scarcity story is the long wait lists that dealers maintain. These lists can last for months or even years. If you want a popular model from Rolex, you may have to join a waiting list and hope that the dealer calls you when one becomes available. But dealers decide who to call based on their own rules. Sometimes they choose customers who have bought other expensive items before or have built a strong relationship with the dealer. This means new customers and first-time buyers are often at the back of the line. The limited supply at retailers and long wait times have created a huge secondary market, also called the resale or gray market. On these markets, Rolex watches can sell for much more than the original price. For example, a watch that costs $10,000 in a store might sell for $20,000 or more on the secondary market. This dramatic price difference is one of the strongest signs that supply is very tight compared to demand. This situation has led many people to believe that Rolex is manipulating the market. They argue that if Rolex simply produced more of the most popular models, wait lists would shrink and prices would become more stable. But Rolex has not done this. Instead, the company continues to let demand far outpace supply. Watch collectors say this strengthens the brand's image of exclusivity and desirability. People who study markets also talk about the psychology of scarcity. When something is rare, people often value it more. This is a basic rule in economics and psychology. Rolex seems to benefit from this rule because scarcity makes their watches seem more valuable and desirable. This helps Rolex maintain a strong brand image and high resale values for its timepieces. But many critics see this as manipulation because it creates frustration as well as value. In the end, Rolex's scarcity strategy, intentional or not, has shaped how people think about luxury goods in general. The brand's controlled supply helps it keep a reputation for exclusivity, prestige, and investment value. But it also creates frustration and anger among ordinary buyers who feel shut out of the market. This conflict between desire and accessibility is at the heart of the controversy over Rolex's practices. Whether intentional or not, the result is the same. But the worst part is, that's not the only problem. Strict control over distribution and online sales. Rolex, as one of the most famous luxury watch companies in the world, has a very clear way of selling its watches. Rolex does not take orders online like many other brands do. Instead, it only sells its watches through a network of authorized dealers. These dealers are independent stores that must follow Rolex's rules if they want to sell Rolex watches. This system gives Rolex strong control over how and where its watches move from the company to buyers. For many years, Rolex's system included a rule that authorized dealers could not sell Rolex watches online or by mail order. This rule was part of a selective distribution agreement that every authorized dealer had to sign. In a letter to dealers, Rolex said clearly that under no circumstances could authorized dealers sell Rolex watches on the internet or by mail order. Rolex argued that this rule was necessary to protect the brand's image and to fight fake watches. They said if watches were sold online, it would be harder to guarantee they were real and not fake. Rolex also claimed that online selling could make it harder to control how customers experience the brand. But the French Competition Authority disagreed with this reasoning. In December 2023, the French Competition Authority fined Rolex France more than 91 million euros, which is about $100 million, for the rule that stopped authorized dealers from selling online for more than 10 years. The authority said this online sales ban was unfair and restricted competition. The Competition Authority explained that preventing online sales was a vertical agreement that restricts competition. This means Rolex and its authorized dealers cooperated in a way that stopped the dealers from competing on the internet with each other and with other sellers. The authority also noted that Rolex's main competitors face the same issue of fake watches, but many of them still allow online sales under certain conditions. This shows it is possible to sell luxury watches online and still protect authenticity and brand image. The rule was in effect for more than 10 years. During that time, online sales of luxury products, including watches, were growing fast. The French Competition Authority said blocking online sales closed a whole channel where watches could be sold fairly. The authority said this hurt both consumers and authorized retailers because it stopped people from having more choices and easier access. Rolex's distribution system means that buyers usually have to go to a physical store to even see most models. Many dealers do not keep popular models on open display. They keep them in the back. Sometimes authorized dealers only sell new watches to people they know or to longtime customers. This strict control adds to the feeling that Rolex decides very carefully who gets which watches and when they can be sold. For many people, there is a clear frustration with this system. Some buyers want the convenience of ordering online. They want a fair chance to buy a watch without relying on personal relationships or dealer preferences. The French Competition Authority's decision pointed out that the online ban stopped this from happening. Rolex's opponents also argued that online sales do not have to be uncontrolled. There are many ways to protect authenticity online. For example, many luxury brands use secure digital tools and verification systems to show that watches are real. Rolex itself has a Rolex-certified pre-owned program with one of its partners, which allows people to buy second-hand Rolex watches online with guaranteed authenticity. This shows that Rolex can, in some cases, allow online transactions while still fighting fakes. However, the French Competition Authority said that a total ban was too extreme. Rolex could have put limits on where and how online sales happen without stopping them entirely. The authority said that rules like not selling on third-party marketplaces might be acceptable, but an absolute ban was not fair. Rolex's selective distribution model also affects price transparency. When dealers can't sell online, customers cannot compare prices easily. This means a buyer in one city might pay more or less than a buyer in another place, but they can't check this on the web. This makes the market less open and harder for regular buyers to navigate. Another consequence of strict distribution controls is that authorized dealers often hold watches in limited quantities. Because dealers know they cannot sell these watches online, they may be slower to offer them to customers. Many buyers have reported long waiting lists at dealers, and sometimes dealers only call certain favored customers when a watch becomes available. This creates a sense that normal buyers are at a disadvantage. After the fine, Rolex had to take certain actions. The French Competition Authority ordered Rolex to publish a summary of the decision on its website and share it with all its authorized dealers. This was meant to make dealers and customers aware that Rolex's past online ban was considered unfair and illegal in France. The fine was significant not only because of its size, but also because it signaled to other luxury brands that they must balance the desire to protect their brand with laws that ensure fair competition and open markets. Even though Rolex was fined, the company has shown little interest in changing its overall sales strategy in the long term. Leaders at Rolex continue to defend the dealer model, saying that personal relationships and physical store experiences are important parts of selling luxury watches. This means many parts of Rolex's current distribution system are likely to stay the same even after legal challenges. Even down to repair services, Rolex has made owning one of its watches a hassle. Monopoly over repairs and aftermarket. Rolex watches are known around the world for their quality and craftsmanship. For many people, owning a Rolex is something special. But behind this image lies a strict system for spare parts and repairs that many buyers and watch experts find controversial. Unlike ordinary products, Rolex controls parts and repairs in ways that limit what owners and independent watchmakers can do. This strong control can feel more like a monopoly than a service. When a Rolex watch needs service, owners are expected to bring it to a Rolex World Service Center or an authorized retailer. These centers are trained by Rolex and use specific tools and parts only available through the company. Rolex says this ensures the highest quality in servicing and keeps each watch performing like new. Rolex also says that parts are available for at least 35 years after a watch is discontinued. On paper, this sounds good. However, many collectors and independent watchmakers say the real effect is that Rolex tightly controls who can fix a Rolex and what parts are used. For example, independent watchmakers usually cannot get genuine Rolex parts directly. Rolex limits parts accounts to certain certified centers and professionals, making it extremely hard for smaller shops to repair Rolex watches with official parts. In practice, this means that if you take a Rolex to an independent repair shop, even one with great skills, the shop may not be able to get the factory parts your watch needs. This can force owners either to go through the more expensive official channels or to have repairs done without parts made by Rolex. But if parts are non-genuine and the watch is still under warranty, Rolex often voids that warranty. Many owners find this system frustrating. Some share stories of wanting a simple repair, only to be told that Rolex will not work on the watch because it once had non-Rolex parts or was serviced outside official channels. In these cases, owners feel stuck. They either pay high official service costs, lose the use of their watch, or search out private watchmakers who may be able to fix it, but without warranty or genuine parts. Another issue involves vintage Rolex watches. Rolex officially says it provides parts for decades, but real experiences differ. Many watchmakers report that Rolex will refuse to service vintage watches older than about 35 years because parts are no longer stocked and the company focuses on newer models instead. This can hurt people who inherit a watch with emotional value but cannot get official repairs. Independent watchmakers often step in for these vintage repairs. They can make or source parts that Rolex no longer provides, but these parts are usually not official Rolex parts. For some collectors, using these aftermarket parts can affect the watch's value and originality. Rolex purists argue that any non-genuine part changes the identity of the watch, making it less authentic and lowering its resale value. A Rolex that has aftermarket parts or has been repaired outside official channels is mostly seen as less desirable. There is also a strong legal background to this control. Rolex has been involved in legal battles over how it sells parts. In the United States, for example, older court actions and settlements show that Rolex has rules limiting how parts sold to independent repairers may be used. These rules even said parts could not be used in watches containing non-Rolex components, which was found to violate certain legal agreements. Another important point is that Rolex warranties are strict. If any repair is done by someone not approved by Rolex, the warranty becomes void. Even simple fixes, like replacing a strap or adjusting the bracelet at a non-authorized shop, can cancel warranty coverage. This level of control makes owners feel they must always go to Rolex for service if they want to protect their warranty. This control also affects the cost of repairs. Official Rolex service can be expensive and take a long time. Independent watchmakers often offer faster and cheaper services. For example, basic servicing at a private shop might cost a few $100s, whereas official service can cost thousands. But because the independent cannot use genuine parts and their work voids warranties, many owners feel they have no real choice. Some argue that Rolex's approach protects buyers and the brand's quality. After all, luxury watches are delicate and precise instruments. Allowing untrained people to repair them with fake or low-quality parts could cause problems. But critics say that Rolex's rules go too far. They believe that owners should have the right to choose where and how their watches are serviced. They also argue that independent shops should have fair access to parts so they can help preserve watches that Rolex itself will not service. A few watchmakers and experts have called for right-to-repair laws to apply to luxury watches too. These laws would mean companies could not void warranties just because owners chose an independent repair. They would also make parts more widely available. But so far, no major changes have forced Rolex to open up its parts system. In many cases, the rules set by Rolex make that balance hard to achieve without frustration or extra expense. And this also applies to how the company manages its image. You won't believe the extent they go to. Aggressive legal tactics. When it comes to legal actions to protect its name, logo, and brand identity, Rolex is also one of the most active luxury brands. The company uses strong legal tactics around trademarks and brand control. For many critics, this feels like the company goes too far in court battles and lawsuits. They argue that Rolex's legal actions go beyond simply stopping fakes and instead affect how others sell or modify genuine watches. A major area where Rolex takes legal action is in trademark infringement lawsuits. A trademark is a special right that protects a brand's name and logo so that only the brand can use them in the marketplace. Rolex watches carry the famous crown logo and the name Rolex. The company does not want anyone else to use that name or logo in ways that could confuse customers. One well-known lawsuit in the United States involved a reseller called Becker Time. Rolex sued Time in 2020, claiming that the company was selling watches that had both genuine Rolex parts and non-Rolex parts, like custom bezels, aftermarket diamonds, or different bands, but still used Rolex's trademarks in ads and sales listings. Rolex argued these watches could confuse buyers into thinking they were official Rolex products. In this case, the United States District Court in Texas agreed that Time did infringe on Rolex's trademarks. The judge found that Time's use of the Rolex brand in connection with modified watches could lead consumers to think these products were official Rolex products. As a result, the court issued an injunction, which means Time was ordered to stop using the Rolex trademarks in certain ways. However, the court did not require Time to give up its profits from selling those watches. Time successfully argued that Rolex took too long to sue, the legal defense called locks. The court said Rolex knew about Time's activities for years, but waited a long time before filing a lawsuit, making it unfair to take away profits that the reseller had earned. This part of the case shows how trademark enforcement can be complicated. Rolex won the main claim, but the reseller avoided one of the biggest penalties. Rolex also uses trademark protection in Europe. The company filed cases to challenge other brands that tried to register a crown logo, even for clothing or unrelated products. For example, Rolex fought a trademark registration for a black crown logo used on clothing, but the European Union General Court said that clothing and watches were not similar enough goods to cause confusion and allowed the other trademark to stand. This ruling showed that Rolex's trademark reach is not absolute. Another major legal issue has involved companies that customize Rolex watches. One such company, known as Artisan de Genève, makes personalized versions of luxury watches, including Rolex models. Rolex sued this customizer in Switzerland, claiming the custom designs and use of the Rolex trademarks without permission was illegal. Some people argue that Rolex aggressively uses trademark claims to stop all customization, while others see the ruling as a partial check on Rolex's power. In March 2024, the Swiss Federal Supreme Court made an important ruling in this battle. The court said that personalizing a watch at the request of the owner is allowed, so long as the watch is not offered for resale in the market. This means that if a person brings their own Rolex to be modified for private use, that is legal. But if a company modifies watches to sell them and markets them using Rolex's logo, that can be trademark infringement. Rolex also has lawsuits against companies that sell or market watches in ways the company says are unauthorized. For example, Rolex filed a lawsuit in 2025 against Wrist Aficionado LLC, a reseller accused of using Rolex's trademarks online in a way that made people think the reseller was connected to the official Rolex dealer network. Rolex claims this damages the brand's image and misleads customers. In these trademark and resale battles, Rolex argues that it must protect the prestige and reputation of its brand. The company says that if unofficial sellers can use the Rolex name freely, customers might not be able to tell real official products from altered or unauthorized ones. This could harm the trust that buyers place in Rolex. Critics, however, say Rolex's legal actions sometimes extend beyond stopping counterfeit goods. They argue that brand protection is used to shape how the entire secondary market operates. This includes concerns that Rolex's trademark strategy tries to control resale prices and limit how independent sellers compete. Another area of trademark enforcement is online. In the early 2000s, Rolex sued eBay in Germany because users on the platform were selling counterfeit Rolex watches. The company wanted to stop these sales and sought damages and injunctive relief. After a trial and appeal, the courts ruled in favor of eBay. This case demonstrates that even with all the backing, Rolex does not always win its lawsuits, especially when courts balance rights against other legal standards. All of these legal cases show that Rolex is one of the most legally active brands in the luxury sector. The company invests a lot of time and money into lawsuits that defend its marks, protect how its products are presented, and challenge unauthorized use of its name and logo. No matter the view, there is little doubt that Rolex's trademark enforcement shapes the market for luxury watches and affects how other businesses, small or large, operate around a powerful brand name. How about the way customers feel as a result of all these? Customer experience and dealer practices. Rolex is one of the most famous luxury brands in the world. Many people dream of owning a Rolex watch. But for many buyers, the experience of trying to buy a Rolex can be very frustrating. This frustration is not just because the watches are scarce, it is also because of how authorized dealers treat customers and manage the sales process. The experience in a Rolex store can affect how people feel about the brand. One of the main parts of the customer experience that people complain about is how dealers handle the waiting list or allocation process. When customers want a popular Rolex model, they often cannot walk into a shop and buy it. Instead, they are told there is a waiting list or interest list, which means they must register and hope the dealer calls when a watch becomes available. This waiting can take months or even years. Many buyers do not understand how the waiting list works. Some dealers do not even call it a waiting list. They call it allocation. Rolex itself says it does not call them waiting lists, even though the effect feels the same to customers. Dealers decide who gets a watch, often based on things like how much someone has spent with the dealer before or how long they have been a client. This system can make customers feel like they must prove their loyalty instead of simply paying for what they want. Buyers who have no history with a dealer often feel ignored or treated as second-class customers. Many people on watch forums share stories of walking into a Rolex boutique only to be shown watches that are just for display and not for sale. Some say they are told to come back later, even though there are watches in the store. A number of frustrated customers complain about the attitudes of sales staff at Rolex-authorized dealers. Some buyers have described staff as pretentious or rude, especially when they do not fit a certain profile of high-spending client. One customer said he was made to feel unwelcome because he was not dressed in a certain way, and only after threatening to contact Rolex headquarters did staff start treating him better. Experiences like this can leave a lasting negative impression of the brand itself. In some stores, security guards and strict entry rules also change how customers feel. One person complained that when they visited a Rolex boutique in Las Vegas, they had to wait to enter the store one person at a time, and then when they saw the display, none of the watches were for immediate sale. They were told the wait for availability was years, which made the experience feel more like a test than a shopping trip. Another part of customer frustration involves how some dealers treat newcomers versus longtime customers. According to posts from people with experience inside Rolex stores, dealers sometimes give high-demand watches to customers who have spent large amounts of money on other items, like jewelry or other luxury watches. One user claimed a store gives top watches only to customers who spend tens of thousands of dollars, even joking that some believed to wash money through watch purchases. This kind of practice feels unfair and discriminatory to many buyers. For others, the issue is the lack of transparency in the sales process. Buyers often do not know where they stand on a waiting list or how long they might wait. Some people feel pushed toward the secondary market because of how dealers behave. Instead of waiting indefinitely, possibly for years, many customers turn to independent sellers or online platforms, even if it means paying much more than retail price. These buyers often say they prefer paying the premium rather than dealing with what they feel is an uncomfortable, unpredictable experience at official stores. Negative customer experiences also extend beyond just buying the watch. Some buyers have reported problems with service or repairs at authorized centers, including high costs and staff who are dismissive or unhelpful. While some customers report excellent service, others believe the brand's after-sales support lacks consistency. These differing experiences make many buyers uncertain about what to expect after they finally purchase a watch. In addition to these real stories, online reviews of Rolex show a pattern. Some customers praise Rolex for quality and craftsmanship, but others highlight unfavorable interactions, complaints about staff attitudes, and disappointment with the buying process. These experiences make some buyers feel that owning a Rolex is less about enjoyment and more about jumping through hoops that have little to do with the actual product. There are also broader complaints that the customer experience at Rolex dealers can feel elitist. Some buyers say they feel treated differently based on how the staff perceives them. For example, based on clothing, age, or how they talk. When loving customers feel ignored or dismissed, this damages their perception of the brand. A luxury purchase should feel special, but many people report that their experience felt uncomfortable or awkward instead. Some buyers also question why sales staff sometimes push customers toward buying unrelated products, like other watches or jewelry, before they will consider offering a high-demand Rolex model. This practice can feel like a tactic to increase revenue rather than a genuine effort to serve the customer's interest. Some customers describe being told they must build relationships by spending more money before being eligible for a coveted watch. Many customers say that if Rolex were more transparent and fair about the allocation process, clearly explaining wait times and customer positions on lists, the frustration would be less. Instead, they feel that the current system creates uncertainty and stress, which takes away from the joy of owning a luxury timepiece. While Rolex itself aims to deliver a high-quality and exclusive experience, many customers feel the process lacks fairness. Overall, the customer experience with Rolex dealers and the way they manage sales has become a major topic among watch buyers and enthusiasts. If this breakdown changed how you think about luxury, let us know in the comments. Do you think Rolex is doing what is right? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button, subscribe so you never miss our next deep dive into the hidden dynamics of wealth, status, and the brands desperately trying to capture both. Because in luxury, nothing is permanent.